Welcome to episode 262 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Who's the Fool edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. Doing this on April Fool's Day. Definitely not a joke, though. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, and I'm with the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, gentleman and a scholar, and his alma mater's in the Final Four. His name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, brother?
Hey, it's doing good, Phil. I'm doing good. The University of Florida Gators in the Final Four, so that is not a joke. They are having a legitimate chance to go to the men's national championship in basketball and all that, so that's great to hear. It is a joke. It might be the Xfinity Series and what we saw took place here on Saturday at Martinsville and all that, which we'll get into. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things on the NASCAR side, certainly, to talk about tonight. So, yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, and I mean, we have Red Fool basically running 4 white cars. Yuki Tsunoda making his debut on the main team while Liam Lawson gets demoted, at least for the rest of this season until they bring him back up again next year. So there's that. That's something that's a fool deal, and then there's other fools, but they're allowed to have way more power and dictate how society runs. But who's the fool? I know one person who isn't one, and it's Dennis Hamlin. He went out there and won at Martinsville for the first time in 10 years in the Cup Series. First time in the Gen 7 car, obviously, as well. So we'll talk about that. First win for his new sponsor. We'll get into the debacle that was the Xfinity race and how Hank Hill won that race. There's been updates in regards to penalties and such. So we'll talk about that. The Truck Series kind of had a similar situation, but in the end, Daniel Hemric won his first truck race, did the backflip. His boys like Blaney and Bubba and everybody were celebrating. It was a good weekend, at least for that whole crew, especially Blaney after starting tailback in the Cup race, and then Bubba having another solid run. Also, the news that Steve Phelps has been named the commissioner of NASCAR, for whatever reason that is. And then they made SOD the president of NASCAR. It's not like we already didn't know they both sucked at life and they were overpaid and butt kissers, but now they have new titles too. Josh can talk more about the basketball because, quite frankly, I haven't really watch a tournament, and especially once St. John's got knocked out. So the roundup, quick and easy. Winternationals, NHRA, Supercross coming towards the end of their season. MotoGP, Moto2 at Coda, where Marc Marquez has dominated, but not this weekend, at least when it mattered most. And then the World Superbikes were in Portugal, at the Algarve circuit. We will make our picks for the Japanese Grand Prix Formula One. Be a watch party at Apex One, so I'll definitely be a part of going there for that. Part of the platinum membership that I'm paying for, so why not? NASCAR Throwback weekend at Darlington. A lot of solid schemes for those who actually are participating. I don't understand how people will do throwbacks at other times and whatever, but they won't do a throwback for the throwback weekend. That's a whole other discussion. And not participating, it's funny. I forget if it was it Ryan Vargas joking around on Twitter that anybody who doesn't participate should get a one-lap penalty. That would be funny. That would be good. I would get out of that, but they won't
like that.
That one was good. I saw that. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. That I would like, because they're talking about penalties. You got these veterans talking about penalizing people. Well, damn it, you didn't want to participate in Throwback Weekend, you start a lap down. And then you have to figure out a way to get the lucky dog at Darlington when you know there's going to be long-ass runs and Kyle Larson's probably going to take the lead and run off. But get in all that. We'll talk about, make those picks. Josh will let us know everything going on in iRacing and gaming and sim segment. We'll call it a day. So we will first go to the Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway. Dennis Hamlin, the Virginia native, took him to the shed this weekend after initially Riley Herbst, or not, why am I saying Riley Herbst? I saw Riley Herbst above Josh Berry, that's why. Definitely Riley Herbst wasn't in the mix. Josh Berry was up front and then got hit coming out of the pits. His pit stall, him and Bubba made contact, and that knocked out the battery, which became a problem for at least 2 Penske cars and 3 cars altogether, because Eric Jones, who finished somewhere in the 20s, got DQ'd about it because of being late. Denny Hamlin led 274 of the race's 400 laps to get his 55th career win, tying him with good old Rusty Wallace. Yeah, that guy's it's a rocket ship. I got that car flat fine and tailback and all the other things that Krusty said while he was on TV. But him and Denny, 2 great short track racers, and now they're tied for 11th all time, 55 career wins. It's pretty crazy to think Denny Hamlin has that many wins. But Christopher Bell qualified on pole, but wasn't really able to make a real dent in anything. Darrell Wallace Jr. Finished 3rd, so Toyota's in the top 3. Then Chase William Clyde Elliott the 2nd. Kyle Larson giving 2 Hendrick cars to round out the top 5. Ross Chastain, Ryan Preece, 3 consecutive top 10s, best streak of his Cup career. They're running really well, the Roush Fenway group there, at least that 60 car. Joey Logano, the defending series champion, won stage 1, got a crucial playoff point. Chase Briscoe got stage points in stage 2 and finished 9th. And then Todd Gilliland rounded out the top 10. Blaney from Tailback got some stage wins in stage 2, finished 11th. Keebler Gibbs, 13th. Tyler Reddick, 14th. They got stage points. AJ Allmendinger in a lot of guys in stage 1. The rest of, after Joey Logano, the rest of the top 5 in stage 1 were buried a lap down. Allmendinger, John Hunter, Keselowski, and Bowman, who had started 3rd and had a really fast race car. Buescher, who had spun early in the race. And then you had Barry up there, and then you had Cold Custard, who was running well and then had issues. So, I mean, it's no surprise, really. You have the Toyotas up there, the Gibbs and 2311 guys up there, and then the Hendrick cars. It doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary, but for something that used to be more routine, it was something to see old Dennis Hamlin get back to victory lane at Martinsville, Josh. But I guess this is he was talking about him against the world and doing the whole heel gimmick, which is not, he's not good at it, but whatever. He needs to take cues from like Ric Flair or something if he really wants to be a heel. Like, he really needs to go like full Ric Flair or like Pete Weber and just like get crazy with it, instead of being like a dad, which is what he is anyways. But Denny Hamlin went out there. Progressive Insurance, first win in the Cup Series, first win for Chris Gale. So that sets himself up for yet another championship run.
Yeah, at least, Denny Hamlin now guaranteed to go compete for another title. Well, not another title, but another chance to have a title finally. So, yeah, Denny pulling that flag out 11 against the world, which today or yesterday he went on his podcast and said that was something that a fan had made for him, I guess. Because I guess apparently during the college football season, they started going to the Ohio State games and they're going all in on like the Ohio State against the world deal, which I don't know what that's all about, but they did that and they were kind of inspired by that and everything. So I mean, cool moment for that fan at least, right? That made that and their flag got on there, but on TV like that. But yeah, I guess a lot of people probably didn't quite get that. And I mean, man, Mike Joy's response there to that flagpole, I was like, really? Man, that was Fox was actually on fire on Sunday with the commentary. So, with that, so yeah, it was pretty interesting to see that. And yeah, I picked Denny Hamlin on our last show last week and mentioned Denny had said on his show previously as well, it's been 10 years since he's won at Martinsville and all that. I was like, yeah, this probably feels right for a Denny victory. So yeah, Denny going out there winning the race, and I mean it's pretty much a thorough spanking of the field. Managed tires pretty good. I mean they had a really good setup. He was able to fend off Chris Bell there on what ended up being the last restart. Fended off his driver and Bubba Wallace there throughout the many restarts of the day. And just was able to manage his tires. I mean, there was other bits and pieces where Chase Elliott was up there for a bit, but he was able to get around him and take over the lead after that. So it was pretty much a Denny Hamlin day for the most part there. And even with the tires as it is, you saw the cars get super dirty, from all the tire wear that they had, but it didn't really matter for Hamlin. And even then, like for the rest of the field, I mean, you saw some, tire management and stuff, but I thought we would see more stuff, more volatility in the field, but it still matters about handling and having a good car and everything, and that was what helped Denny to pull off that victory there. So now of course he's off and able to not worry about getting a win, because I feel like it seemed like lately there's like, oh, is Denny Hamlin ever going to win again or something like that, but he goes out, proves his doubters, if there are any, to go out and get a victory here, and tying Rusty Wallace, which does seem crazy. It doesn't feel like he has that many wins, to be honest, but he's right up there with a lot of these Hall of Famers and stuff. So now all that's left for him, I think, is to get a championship, and that would be a total complete resume there. So we'll see how that goes. But for the rest of the field, I mean, the Gibbs cars overall, I mean, they had a good setup. I mean, you saw Ty Gibbs spin out there, but still able to get a somewhat decent finish in 13th. Bubba was good. Chris Bell was on the pole and led laps. Chase Briscoe, of course, was up there for a bit too. Really, so really all of the Gibbs Toyotas were, having good days and all that. So, this was basically just I mean, in my opinion, kind of a Toyota fest from that angle. So, could it be a preview of what we see, in Martinsville later in the year? Maybe we'll see, and definitely have to think about Denny Hamlin being in that championship 4 once again.
Yeah, that's something we're going to have to see for sure. The Gibbs team as a whole being able to perform, I think for the first time all year, it's been one or two of the guys, not all four, being able to perform in a race. Is a good sign. Hamlin taking a different route with this setup to go and figure out how to make this car work, and then putting a whooping on everybody. You go and look at the fact that Bubba, another top 5 finish, top 5, top 10, for a guy that people say, for enough of these inbreds say that can't drive. He seems to be driving pretty good right now. So, I mean, it's the same usual people. You had Penske was up there. You have Roush, of course, now with Prix. I think that Buescher, if he hadn't spun out, and you had Keselowski, the strategy, I don't think worked in their favor. They've had a brutal start to the year. But Prix is showing what kind of pace and ability he has now that he has a decent race car on a week-to-week basis. So we will go into the points here. I'll bring it up based on the playoff standing. Christopher Bell is the playoff points leader. William Byron is the current regular season points leader, leading his teammate Kyle Larson by 16 points. Clyde is third, minus 32. Christopher Bell's minus 35, tied with Alex Bowman. So Hendrick cars fill 4 of the top 5 spots. Then you have, outside of that, sandwiching those Hendrick cars are Toyotas, to Joe Gibbs Toyotas, and then the 2311 duo. Bell in 4th, Hamlin in 6th, Tyler Reddick in 7th, and Darrell Wallace Jr. in 8th. The first Ford is 3-time champion, defending series champion Joey Logano in 9th. Blaney is 10th, even with all the bad luck he's had. Stage wins definitely helped there. Christopher Buescher, Chase Briscoe, and you have Chastain, Prix, and McDowell. Those are the 16. Yeah, McDowell, it shows, because Josh Berry had fallen out of the top 16. That's why. Okay. Yeah, Josh Berry fell to 19th after the tough run at Martinsville, but he has a win, so he's locked in. McDowell has a 9-point lead on Kyle Busch and 11 points on John Hunter Nemechek, AJ Allmendinger, so on and so forth there. I mean, I was talking about Brad. He's 30th in points right now. He's only ahead of, 5 drivers right now, or 6 drivers that have run every race this year. So he's had brutal, terrible luck. If you're Keebler, Gibbs is behind him. Gagson, Herbst, SVG, of course, he's a rookie, and then Cole Custer, who is I thought they were getting help from Roush, so I'm not sure what's going on with that whole deal. But, so we will move forward. We'll move into the race that everyone was talking about the most, was the Xfinity Series race, the Marine Corps 250. This one had a lot of yellows, 14 yellows, and you look at from the end of stage 2, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 with the 2-stage cautions. From that point on, there was 10 caution flags. That is ridiculous. And it shows a lack of respect and general intelligence, it seems. Connor Zilic was on pole. He won both stages. He led the most laps in the race, yet he finished 28th. Just ahead of the guy that got shipped, Taylor Gray, who finished 29th after running up front for a good amount of the day. This top 10 is ratchet. If you get into the top 20, it's ratchet, to be fair. Hank Hill led 1 lap, and it was the most important one. Sheldon Creed with his 900th second place finish. Justin Allgaier, who I think was in position to win the race if it weren't for his teammate being a moron. Brennan Poole from 29th finished 4th. Sam Mayer, another top 5 finish. So even though Haas HFT is not running well in Cup, they're definitely running well in Xfinity. Dean Thompson, who had spun at one point during the race, came back for 6th. Daniel Dye, Ryan Sieg, Chris Wrong, and then Sammy Smith. Jeb Burton, who started tailback, finished 11th. Parker Retzloff, 12th. Eric Almirillo was 13th. Clements, Garrett Smithley, Dr. Patrick Staropoli, who also ran in the truck race, got a top 20 finish in an Xfinity car there, so great on him. Josh Williams, Ryan Ellis, Blaine Perkins, Carson Quapple, who started on the outside pole and finished second in both stages. So he had Corey Day, who started 8th. He finished 21st. Bruckshot Jones, who led 22 laps. You look at the race itself, the two drivers that led the majority of the laps, 187 races, 256 laps, finished 28th and 29th. There was a lot of destruction, a lot of used up race cars, a lot of tempers flaring and stupidity abound. It seems to be a common theme, especially at Martinsville. But I think in general, with the lack of respect that these guys have for one another and their equipment, they always bring up that none of these guys have to work on their own race cars, so they don't really have any care or any wherewithal about what it costs or anything, because they're bringing checks. When you're a small team, and you're getting destroyed because some trust fund kid decides that that's the only way to go, it's a pretty bad look in general, and that's what Sammy Smith did, and had no remorse on top of it. So I'm not really sure what Junior said on his show. I know you listened to it, Josh, but they penalized Sammy Smith for said incident. They penalized him 50 points and fined him $25,000. They fined Jeb Burton and Taylor Gray. I don't know why, for going and engaging. That's just stupid. It's who cares? Taylor Gray had a right to go and be pissed. Jeb Burton, it's Jeb Burton, I get it, but they both had a right to be pissed at Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith destroyed, I think, a quarter of the field with that one wreck. I know that he's like Michael Annett 2.0. I get it, and he has like a small, very, very small amount of talent. He's wasted a junior motorsports seat for 2 years. This is his second year, I think, on the team. He sucked most of last year. He sucks this year. He wasted a Gibbs ride for a year. It's not like he's going to Cup. I don't think he's going to. He might, because he's got that backing, and Michael Annett did. So who knows? Maybe what's it called? Legacy wants to have somebody else destroy stuff every single week, or I don't know if they win that lawsuit or 23-11, or I don't know. But that's the takeaway there. It's not even about Hank Hill winning, backdooring another victory, because he's, of course, somebody who probably does like the backdoor of a pig. But either way, it's just a bad look for the sport in general. That driving standard and that lack of respect and remorse is a sad commentary on what the sport has become, in my opinion. What were your thoughts, Josh, on that? Just the race in general, but also just Sammy Smith and other guys' lack of wherewithal and respect.
Yeah, it's not normal that, because normally when we talk about any of these series, usually the storylines all are in the Cup Series, but here the main storyline really is what happened in the Xfinity race, right? With all the terrible driving and 100 laps of caution, of course, and then the ending, how this race ended with Sammy Smith just driving it in there and just completely taking out Taylor Gray there. So it's not normal that we talk about with Xfinity like this, but it certainly is true at Martinsville at least, and maybe even other tracks. But it's just a product of everything in this sport right now, to be honest. Because one, it's the drivers who never really have turned a wrench on these cars. Like, not saying that Sammy Smith hasn't, but certainly hadn't had the need to do that, right? Where other drivers who have been around, like Allgaier and other Josh Williams, people who really had to make their way up into this sport. These guys, they just come in, they have funding, they have some level of talent to be able to operate these cars, right? But they just go in here and kind of just let it all hang out, try to do whatever they can to win races. You have this championship point system that kind of rewards this, right? And then you have NASCAR. It's kind of afraid to throw a real penalty that would discourage this type of stuff. And then you have other, I guess, I mean, that's basically kind of all of it. I mean, the car itself too, in a way, kind of enables you more so in the Cup Series, but yeah, I think the Xfinity Series to a lesser degree, you can kind of get away with this stuff with the chassis kind of being fairly at least the body being kind of fairly reinforced and being able to survive in that way. But I mean, Sammy Smith was given the number 8, the stylized number 8 from Dale Jr. for a reason, right? I mean, Dale let him have this number, right? And to me, that's unworthy of having that number like that. Dale never raced like that. I mean, he might have wrecked a couple guys a few times, right? But you never saw him, go from 2 car lengths to go and try and get a guy for a victory, right? Never seen him do that, and that's not worthy of the stylized number 8 that he's been allowed to drive. And he gets to keep a 10th place finish, which probably is meaningless in all other aspects, because it's all about winning, get in, which that's the other aspect of it, is that this system that we have where it's win and get in. You have to win to be able to get in the playoffs, and if you don't get in the playoffs, obviously it's less exposure, brand exposure for your team, right, and all that stuff. Versus being able to even at least make the round of 12, you get talked about at least of potentially being a playoff contender and all that stuff. So, and the amount of press that it gives your team, and being able to be in that conversation, it's a lot of attention. It definitely helps your team. So when you have a system that just says, oh, okay, well, technically in theory, you can just drive through a guy and win a race, that allows you to do this. So I mean, that's part of it. But on the flip side, like NASCAR, they're too afraid to really give a real penalty to this. Like, yeah, they gave them some money fine and points fines and all that stuff, but that's all after the fact. And it's hard to do it on the last lap, obviously, to hand out a penalty. But just freaking black flag the guy. Like they're talking about in the Cars Tour series. I guess if you drive, and wreck a guy, you're going to the back with the guy that gets wrecked. And I think that's the rule that they should adopt, because you shouldn't be allowed to have or benefit from this still. And yeah, he got a penalty, of course. So I guess kind of gates what his points efforts were for the day, but still, I mean, should be able to in the moment, because it wasn't just that one race, right, or that lap. Right. It was everybody. Like Austin Hill won this race, but he had his fair share of wrecking people in this race too. Sam Mayer had it. I mean, Danny Hamlin called them all assholes on his show. So it's not good. I mean, especially when they go to Martinsville, it's just like that this is going to happen and everything. And obviously, a lot of the drivers in the field, very young. They don't have really a lot of real veterans other than Allgaier to really kind of enforce driving standards, right? But somebody has to step up. And Allgaier in his post race is like, oh, I don't know if it can be me. I don't know if I have that, because he's talking about like all the old guys, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, Cale Yarborough, and all those guys being able to kind of hold court in the garage area. But I mean, it's like I think he's the oldest guy in this field. I mean, got to step up and kind of don't allow this stuff to happen. And, NASCAR got to do a better job to penalize people. And you would think, with Austin Dillon, with the way he won Richmond last year, they stripped him of the points and of the benefits of winning. They let him keep the win in technicality, but all the other benefits of that went away. You would think that, Sammy Smith, sending it into turn 3 to wreck Taylor Gray, you would think that they'd know, okay, well, that's at least on the table to be penalized, right? But it's like, oh, well, I went out to do it, and then of course didn't show any remorse from that in the interview. So clearly nobody learned from that, at least here in the Xfinity Series. So maybe if you right hooked them or something, they would have done that, but a bit harder to do that, of course. But yeah, just not a good look for the series. And I mean, I like what Mike Joy had to say, about it in the Cup Series. He was like, "Oh, the Xfinity Series is not a dumpster fire. Dumpster fire is contained." Like, man, that shows he still at least has a pulse, in some respects. So, he's definitely right there. And then you mentioned earlier, Dale Jr. talking about on his show, which I listened to a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to park Sammy Smith for a race if you guys think I'm going to do that and everything," which I think he should. But, he said he did have like a fairly lengthy phone call, after he was able to, I guess, gather his thoughts and all that stuff and calm down from it. So, he definitely said it was the most disappointed and frustrated he ever felt in a race or leaving a race. So, it's definitely not a good look for the series. And I mean, it sucks because, like, other people have said, the Xfinity Series, I think, is a good platform. When we've seen when the drivers, when they behave, we've seen them be able to put on some pretty entertaining show on the racetrack. And I mean, I think low key we both think that on its best days, the Xfinity Series is better than the Cup Series in terms of racing on the tracks. So it sucks when it kind of devolves into this thing that's worse than a dumpster fire. So we our chat with Joe, like you were saying, like Sammy Smith shouldn't have allowed just Austin Hill to win this race because obviously nobody likes that guy, but he kind of just backdoored his way into this. And again, Sheldon Creed finishes second in a race to Austin Hill. So funny how that works. So just unfortunate for the series. It's a bad look, and hopefully this is enough, or they make a change, and hopefully the embarrassment is enough to clean things up, at least here at Martinsville. You saw Truck Series, obviously they've been scolded in the past for how their races have gone, and it seems like over the past year, at least coming to the end, the races have been fairly clean, I guess. You're not seeing kind of the devolvement that we're seeing here in the Xfinity Series here at Martinsville. So at least on that end, it's a little bit cleaner because, I mean, they got called out by everybody. So maybe here with all the press and all the drivers kind of calling out, and in specific 3 drivers being called out, maybe that'll help improve things here in the future, and we at least see better driving standards on track.
I mean, you got guys like Carson Hocevar who moved up the Cup, and people talk about him and his aggressive style, which comes from like Ross Chastain, who pisses off lots of people. So I mean, there's a connection, like a line that seems to connect a lot of these drivers somehow, some way. And it's like it was the Truck Series for a few years where it was just god awful. The ARCA series is terrible. With maggot morons who have no business having a racing license, or other types that have money but have no business driving a race car. But in the grand scheme of things, like the Xfinity Series, like Josh said, is the best platform they have. And when you're basically going to turn it into the smash up derby, and we know that this is the elimination race to get to the Final Four, and what we have seen in recent years, Hank Hill and Sheldon Creed, one example, Sammy Smith taking out Allgaier and about a third of the field or whatever. I mean, I forget who said it on Twitter that they're like, I wondered why they hadn't raced at Martinsville for however many years, and it's kind of been proven as to why. I mean, granted, in the old days of the Busch Series, they ran there twice, but they weren't sitting there just like demolishing each other, because the reality is the series was a much more mom and pop, more small team deal, and a lot of veteran drivers in that series. And then the youth, the guys that were up and coming drivers, knew that if they did, that kind of stunt, they were going to get their ass kicked. Some of them did get their ass kicked either way, but that's where we got the likes of Bobby Labonte and The Onion, Todd Bodine, and Jeffy, and all those. You think about a couple of generations ago, that's where we got those guys from, and now we have this.
Yeah.
So it's a sad commentary. I mean, Tony said it a bunch of times. Tony Stewart has said it, and some of these other guys that came in previous eras. I mean, Denny is basically is the last connection to he's one of the last connections to the Nextel Sprint era at this point.
Well, him and KFB.
Yeah. Kyle he was 18 when he started his Cup career. So yeah, that's true. I mean, Pizza Face, I guess to a point, but
not really. I mean, Pizza Face is probably the start of it, really, if you think about it. Because if you go back to how he started, the Irwindale race when he was in the K&N Pro, there's a clip of him intentionally wrecking a guy, which I think they disqualified him for that, right? But still, that was kind of the beginning of this whole, daddy's money, rich guy, which, I mean, he's not really a daddy's money guy, but, it was definitely the start of kind of the shift in demographic and all that stuff. And, I mean, even you go back to 2016, John Hunter Nemechek, I mean, obviously not a, funded guy like, a lot of these, hacks are, but, go back to his first win in the Truck Series, how he achieved that, and he wrecked. Cole Custer is a funded guy, ironically, but the way he won that race was fairly dirty, in my opinion. There, but when you're enabled to do stuff like that, I mean, it should be punished quite heavily. And Boyer mentioned on his part of that rant, they should let these drivers fight it out and stuff. And I mean, nobody really. I mean, not that nobody wants to see a fight, but for one thing, the sponsors don't really want to see their logos, involved in a skirmish like that. And most of these kids can't even fight anyways. They wouldn't know how to fight. I mean, there's probably only a handful of drivers in this field and in the Cup Series who could probably actually throw a good punch and box and stuff and everything. So yeah, I don't think letting them fight it out would solve anything, because they'd probably just get a couple of slaps in and stuff like that, and nobody would, truly get their ass kicked, like they probably would in the old days. So that's the other part of it too, I guess. But yeah, it's just kind of snowballed, I guess, into what we see on Saturday and what we occasionally see throughout the year.
Yeah, and it's a sad commentary when you have a product as good as the Xfinity Series. You have the broadcast, which is a solid broadcast when it's available. You got a bunch of good things, and then you're going to sully it with a race like this. You're going to have Talladega, which will be a fuck fest. That kind of shit is unnecessary. And it's a black eye for the sport. But hey, it's proof positive that the France family loves it, because they went and promoted two people. So the two people that have been in charge of the sport. So I guess that tells you all you need to know. Xfinity Series points, as we move forward, they'll be going to Darlington this weekend for Throwback Weekend, what's it called? Justin Allgaier, the points leader overall, not the playoff points leader. That's Hank Hill by 2 points on that. Allgaier 41-point lead on Sam Mayer, 47 on Austin Hill. Then a huge gap. Sheldon Creed in fourth, minus 71. Jesse Love, minus 74. And Sammy Smith, I don't know if that doesn't account for his penalty there. That was from Saturday. So he actually, with the points loss, falls all the way back to 12th in points to the cutoff, and only 2 points ahead of Bruckshot Jones and 8 points ahead of Harrison Burton. So that's huge penalty there. You have the 4 guys that have won, Hank Hill, Allgaier, Love, and Zilich. Then you have Mayer, Creed. They're kind of solid, essentially. Then it becomes a real battle from there on, from Ryan Sieg all the way through to like Brennan Poole, who's actually 17th in points. You can add Josh Williams, Dean Thompson, Christian Eckes into that mix. So it's really, really close. You have 52 points going and separating 9th through 20th in overall points, because you have Almirola, who's not running every week, currently in the top 10. But interesting. We'll see how that goes as the season goes on. Truck Series, that there was some argy-bargy in that one too. But in the end, somebody who's not generally known for being a wreck-it type of driver, someone who's known for maintaining equipment, albeit not winning, did win. Daniel Hemric, elbows up. Daniel Hemric gets the victory over his teammate Tyler Ankrum, and Jake Garcia was third, Chandler Smith fourth, Ben Rhodes, the multi-time Truck Series champion, was fifth. Corey Heim started on pole, won both stages, led 149 laps. And you could start making an argument that I think could have won every single race, or virtually every single race. I think all but one, he really was in position to do so. So it's just a matter of how he's going to do his Denny Hamlin, because he's got the Denny Hamlin thing going now, spitting the bit in the playoffs. But Corey Heim came back to finish sixth. Caden Honeycutt, who had led 20 laps, finished second in both stages, finished 26, but should have had more to show from the day. Connor Mozak, who had gotten into some people, had some double stage points. Ty Majeski, another one, he went and wheel hopped into turn one, cleaned out Caden Honeycutt. There's Tanner Gray there. William Byron was in this race. Heim, Andres Perez, Dallara, Rajah Caruth, Stuball, and Lawless Allen were your top 10. For Corey Heim, it's whatever. I think he's not, I don't think he's as worried about it, in a sense. I think he wants to be able to save those wins for later in the year. But for Daniel Hemric and McAnally Hilgeman, basically a brand new team. Charles Deneke is the crew chief for Bubba now. A lot of those guys, I think, either moved on or moved over. So the fact that this new combination of Daniel Hemric coming back to the Truck Series to be in a competitive ride after a couple of lean years, both in Xfinity and Cup, taking a team that was in the playoff mix final. I believe they were in the Final Four last year with Eckes. And now new team, they get the win, benefit from, argy-bargy going on, but benefit, and they take that opportunity. And now Hemric can go and work on a playoff run and possibly adding a Truck Series championship to that Xfinity title that he has. But, I mean, Corey Heim has been the story all season, and he continues to be because he is head and shoulders above everybody else in the series, which is probably why Denny and MJ signed him, because they are looking at the long-term productivity of him. But in the end, Daniel Hemric got to celebrate with Kenzie and his girls in Victory Lane, got to see a backflip for the first time since he won the race at Phoenix a few years ago. So he ain't too old to do that. I was worried about him, but he did that and he stuck the landing, so it was really good. And one of the good guys, somebody who actually had to repair his stuff, actually had to build his own stuff, getting a win. A nice respite relative to some of the other stuff that went on this weekend, Josh.
Yeah, for Daniel Hemric, I mean, yeah, he's definitely a guy that you don't want to mess with in this series, and just in general. But really, only his second career win in NASCAR, because the only other time he won was the championship race in the Xfinity Series in 2021. But he's been really talented; just hasn't had the fortune of winning. But when he's had a good car, you can see what he's able to do. We've seen his talent going all the way back to the days when he was in the late model series as a young guy in there. But now he has a chance here to go out and get a win now. So it's good that he was able to pick up that victory. And yeah, you mentioned Corey Heim, which, I mean, he's already got 2 wins, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, I think you're right that there's definitely an argument that he probably could have won every race so far that's been run this season here in trucks. So not surprising there. So I think the only concern is when it actually is time for the playoffs, right, that they don't give up races that they should have won, because that's definitely, especially with Martinsville, not that I don't think he would be in the situation where he could potentially miss the cut, but he wouldn't want to have the race go away from you in Martinsville in November, and that be the reason why they potentially don't make the playoffs or something like that. So that's, I think, definitely one thing to keep in mind there as he progresses throughout the season, because yeah, right, even though he's already got 2 wins and he's qualified in, but same time, don't want to keep choking those ones away. So we'll see how they continue to perform, but yeah, definitely head and shoulders above the rest of the series there, and for the most part. So yeah, we'll definitely see how this goes. But yeah, the other guys, like William Byron finished 14th, which I thought they have a Cup driver. I feel like Cup drivers in the Truck Series, that should be an automatic top 5, but maybe our standards are a little bit different because of Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch coming into the trucks and usually doing well and everything. But it's also Willie Byron in a Spire car, so yeah, definitely a little disappointed in that. But other than that, I mean, so your standard Truck Series race at Martinsville, which this one did have a lot of yellows here, so definitely a good amount of cautions. But at least we saw a good guy get a win there in Daniel Hemric.
Yeah, one of the good guys getting a win, somebody that I've rooted for over the years. He had to go and use a little bit of elbow grease with those elbows up, but getting that victory, giving McAnally 1 truck in the playoff as of now, their flagship one. So we'll see how it goes moving forward. Heim, the overall points leader and also the playoff points leader by a bunch. He has a 20-point lead on Ty Majeski, 36 on Chandler Smith. Hemric, of course, moves up to second in the playoff point standings. He has 54 points back. Friesen, Ankrum, Enfinger, Lane Riggs, Jake Garcia, and Ben Rhodes, was on the cutoff, a point ahead of Caden Honeycutt, 8 ahead of Tanner Gray, 12 ahead of Gio Ruggiero. And then there's a group between Mills, Caruth, Andres Perez de Lara, and Matt Crafton that are all, 33, 34 points back. So, I mean, for Rajah Caruth, he had a brutal start to the year. I think we all believe that he's got a win in him to get himself in there. Crafton hasn't won in a long time. You have some other guys there like Dawson, Sutton, Mozak. They run every race. So you got Frankie Muniz is beating Tony Breidinger in the Influencers Cup.
I like you said that.
Because I mean, for fuck's sake, I mean, they had her in the Toyota Gazoo commercial, and I'm like, what? It's like that's
the promotion there.
Yeah, that's the Miss Hummer. That's like the Miss Hummer thing there they had going on. I mean, at least with Frankie, there's like a genuine want to actually, do okay. And he's driving for like one of the crappiest teams too. It's not like he's wasting a seat like she is at Tricon, but whatever. The only person that Breidinger is ahead of that's run every race is Nathan Bird, so he should probably retire. Yeah, so that's that. They'll be back at Bristol here in a couple weeks' time. So yeah, Josh, before we get into the roundup, you can talk about the tournament and thoughts and feelings about your Florida Gators, the men's basketball team, with an opportunity to win their first national title in a few years.
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Since 2017 or no, 2007, right? But yeah.
Baseball is 2017.
Yeah.
Outdoor, they've won 3 straight outdoor track and field titles. Golf, they won a couple, 2 years ago. Indoor track and field was 6 years ago. What's it called? Yeah, men's national championship. Yeah, so basketball was back in 06 and 07. That was the same time. That was Tebow era, 06 and 08. The women's have had a much harder time. And track and field was 22. Okay, yeah, so.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, what I'll say there is, I mean, on that note, you talk about all the championships and stuff that they've had, which, I mean, to me, I think, the biggest college sports are basketball and football. And yeah, like we haven't had a basketball championship since 07 and football since like 08. So, it's been a while for that. And, they've had some chances, right? Last time they were in the Final Four, 2014 during the Billy Donovan era. I was there in school when they went to the Elite Eight back in 2017. So, we had some couple of runs there, but, no major national title in quite a while. So that's what I was kind of going off of, offline we were talking about. But, yeah, the tournament itself, I mean, it seems like it's been a lot of like, I would say pretty much what you've expected for the most part. There hasn't been any like true upsets here, like what we've seen in previous tournaments or anything like that. It seems like for the most part, it's been kind of straightforward. I mean, there have been some mid-level seed teams upsetting higher seed teams, but you haven't seen anything like a 15 upsetting a 2 or 1 upsetting a 16 or anything like that. So, I mean, for me, like my bracket that I'm in, I'm not going to win my bracket this year, unfortunately, but I think I'm going to finish. Like, I think if I play it out the way I want it to, I'll finish in 5th. So I guess that's okay right there. But yeah, the Gators, they started out in this tournament, we handily defeated Norfolk State pretty good. So that was, I mean, expected. UConn versus UF, that was a nail biter. They definitely made us play their style of basketball, which I guess Big East ball, very defensive game there. And then Walter Clayton Jr. has been really, really good, really, really clutch in that throughout the series. And then on Thursday we defeated Maryland 87-71, and then Saturday night evening we beat Texas Tech, which late in that game, I mean, we were tied. I think we were tied or led by 2 points at halftime, but Texas Tech started to pull away. They had a 10-point lead late in that game, like with 4 minutes left, and I was like, man, maybe this is it. I was starting to really worry, but Florida started putting it together on defense. They went on a 16-2 run, in the last 3 minutes of the game. Walter Clayton Jr. with a huge three to take the lead. Tommy Houff, I think that's his name, with a huge, Thomas Houff with a huge defensive effort, and he had 2 3-pointers back to back before Clayton Jr. got his 3-pointers. So that was huge. We needed those threes late in the game to get going and pick up that win. So it's been an interesting series for the Gators. I mean, when they're on, they're on. They're pretty unstoppable, and they can dictate their style of basketball. They play really fast, and they just have this ability to just go on a run and put up points. But their problem mostly has been turnovers, and that's been an issue that that they've had when they went up against UConn. They had turnovers, and then the first half of the Maryland game, they had turnover issues, and this one, definitely second half there was a bunch of turnovers. So that's the only issue that I really worry about. But they're going up against Auburn here on Saturday, so we'll see if they're able to. I mean, I definitely hope that they pull that one off. They beat Auburn in the SEC tournament to win the SEC title in basketball, so that's definitely good there. But they got to really kind of clean things up for this, because definitely on a big stage now with the Final Four on the line, and then of course Monday night the national championship for basketball. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm definitely pulling for them, of course, and definitely hope my school gets a huge win there. Definitely gonna have to go through Duke for this. I think Duke, they're facing Houston on Saturday in their that Final Four event. So I definitely think it's probably gonna be a UF Duke matchup to see who gets the college basketball title. So guess you have to come back in next episode and find out who's the tournament winner. I mean, obviously you'll know if I'm wearing my hat the next game, or next podcast. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely exciting. When the Final Four, it's definitely good when either you have a bracket that's going good, or your school or your team is good and gives you interest here. So for years they're talking about is Florida a basketball school now? And I'm like, nah. I mean, they've always been kind of an everything school, and definitely in basketball and football, and definitely football Gators are starting to come back up after being kind of down the last couple of years. So it looks like they got a lot of expectations for next college season, and basketball definitely turned around after the end of the Mike White era, and Todd Golden definitely put the Gators back on the map here. So we'll see how this goes on Saturday. So definitely excited for all that.
And we'll be ready whatever happens, but hopefully for your Gators, it's cutting down the nets, because we'll see how if we'll get any type of crazy reaction, because that's part of the fun of the GSP, is to see Josh actually get out of his shell a little bit. It doesn't happen very often where he goes and kind of lets loose So if that were to happen, I guess that's part of the fun here. Florida can come through, so we'll see what happens with that. 4 number 1 seeds, only the second time that's ever happened in the history of the tournament. So, and then so chalk was the way to go, but we'll see a lot of new things there. Houston trying to get their first national title. Duke, of course, a blue blood school, and it's Auburn because Charles Barkley. So yeah, I should have remembered that. Charles Barkley wanting to see his alma mater, same alma mater as, of course, Frank Thomas and Bo Jackson, amongst other players, great players over the years. We will move to the roundup here, and the Winter Nationals, even though it's spring, took place at Pomona, which saw there's Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock. All-Star Top Fuel call-out. That was run there at Pomona. Langdon won that. Then the All-Star call-out, Doug Coletto is the winner in Top Fuel, Jack Beckman in Funny Car, and he doubled up with the race win, Matt Hartford, with the Too Fast, Too Tasty Pro Stock Challenge. In Top Fuel, saw Clay Wilkin get the victory in a pedal fest over Tony Stewart, who had to beat Antron Brown, Doug Coletta, and Sean Langdon to get to the final, and then loses basically on the whole shot, and then smokes the tires. Milliken went from the number 5 spot, beat Sean Reed, Jasmine Salinas, and Brittany Force on his way to the finals and the victory. In Funny Car, I mentioned Jack Beckman ended up winning. Austin Prock was number 1 qualifier, but ended up having issues in his first round and lost to Blake Alexander. That opened the door for Matt Hagan, who got through the first round, ran a 394 in the second round before losing to Beckman in the semifinals. Beckman beat Jeff Deal, Chad Green, the Gator Nationals winner, and Hagan on his way, and then Daniel Wilkerson looks like he broke there in the final. Wilkerson, the number 10 qualifier, beat J.R. Todd, Phoenix winner Paul Lee, and then Spencer Hyde, who was driving for Jim Head, making his Funny Car debut after failing to qualify first 2 races of the year. In Pro Stock Car, Greg Anderson beats his teammate Dallas Glenn again. Greg Anderson was the number 1 qualifier. Mason McGahey red lit huge. Then Anderson beat Jed Coughlin Jr. and Corey Reed on his way to the final. Glenn, the number 7 qualifier, beat Enders, Matt Hartford, and Derek Kramer on his way to the final. The next race will be the Las Vegas 4-wide Nationals before the Charlotte 4-wide at the end of April. In Monster Energy Supercross, the results of Seattle in the 450 main event, Cooper Webb gets the victory by just under a second over Chase Sexton. Aaron Plessinger third, so 2 KTMs. Ken Roxon was 4th. Dylan Ferrandis 5th. Justin Cooper, Malcolm Stewart, Justin Barsha, Benny Bloss, and Justin Hill. Your top 10. The Beta bike they lapped all the way up to 8th. The Betas finished 9th and 11th, so credit to those guys. And then the 250 West of main event, Cole Davies got the whole shot and won over Garrett Marchbanks, Hayden Deegan, Julian Beaumare, Joe Shimoda, the only riders that were on the lead lap. Standings heading into Foxborough, Cooper Webb an 11-point lead on Chase Sexton. Ken Roczen basically solid in third. Malcolm Stewart and Justin Cooper only separated by a point for fourth. Justin Barsha 5 points ahead of Jason Anderson and 11 ahead of Aaron Plessinger there for sixth. The 250 West standings, Julian Beaumare 48 points behind Hayden Deegan. Cole Davies minus 20, Joe Shimoda minus 30. They'll be on the East Coast, which Tom Vial leads by 10 over RJ Hampshire and 13 over Seth Hamaker. Anstey and Thrasher 21 points back there. So, all right, we will move over to the results of the U.S. Grand Prix of the Americas, whatever you want to call it. Marc Marquez had won the sprint and had qualified on pole as well. But when it counted, he crashed, and that allowed Pecco Bagnaia to get the victory by just over 2 seconds over Alex Marquez. Fabio Di Giannantonio third, so Ducati's in the top three. Ducati's in the top four, actually, with Franco Morbidelli. Jack Miller, best non-Ducati, in fifth on the Pramac Yamaha. Marco Bezzecchi, Enea Bastianini, Luca Marini, Iagura, and then Fabio Quartararo, your top 10. Yeah, so that's that. The standings for MotoGP. Alex Marquez, with his brother's crash, takes a points lead by 1. Bagnaia is 12 points back, and that's really the race right now for the championship. After that, it's pretty tough sledding. In the Moto2 category, Jake Dixon, the winner, over Tony Arbolino and Alonso Lopez. Aaron Canet and Guevara, your top 5. Marcos Ramirez is 11th. And Joe Roberts was the last rider that was classified, even though it shows no time or anything like that. Time deficit, I guess they went a lap down. He was lapped, so it's a really bad situation for Joe Roberts this year with injuries and the like, after what he thought was possibly a move up to MotoGP. The standings in the Portuguese World Superbike race at the Algarve, Toprak Razgatlioglu gets a clean sweep of all the races, all 3 races. Nicolo Bulega gets second in all 3 races. And Alvaro Bautista was denied in race 1, but otherwise finished third in the Superpole race in race 2. The points right now, a 29-point lead for Bulega over Razgatlioglu, and 51 points on Danilo Petrucci, 52 for Alvaro Bautista, and so on and so forth. Garrett Gerloff, early in the year, 16th in points. He is 15 points out of the top 10. Alrighty. So that concludes the roundup. So we'll move to the Japanese Grand Prix picks here. I mean, we've gone to Suzuka all different times of the year. Now we're doing it in April. You have Red Bull doing a tribute to Honda after all their success in Yuki Tsunoda's debut for the Red Bull team. Finally, just their last. Lando won at Australia. Oscar Piastri won at China. So do we see a third different winner in the first 3 races and the start of a triple header here? 3 consecutive races at Japan, Bahrain, and Qatar. Josh, you went first, so I'll go first this week. F1 Japanese Grand Prix. Phil goes with Oscar Piastri to win. Then you have on the podium, I will say Fish Lips and Norris round out podium. What say you, Josh?
I'm gonna just say that Lando wins here in Japan. Piastri's second, and I think Max gets third on the podium. So no change. We're on the same page here.
Yeah, we're just picking different McLaren guys, so that's whatever. They have the advantage at the moment, so I think we're just kind of hedging bets that way. Going into the picks for Darlington here, there's some other news. They talked about the All-Star Weekend schedule. Prime Video is going to sponsor Kyle Larson in his run to do the double. Carl Edwards is going to be the honorary starter for Darlington on Sunday. I'm sorry there. I was texting the lady. Yeah, there's a lawsuit, Legacy Motor Club and Rick Ware. I'm not shocked that's the first time that we've heard of a lawsuit with Rick Ware. We'll get into the Xfinity Series. What's it called? Jeb Burton running a Hardee's Throwback. Leland Honeyman running a Nestle, or I mean, what do you call what's it called? Why am I forgetting it was the Nesquik. Yeah, I was right. Nesquik. Yeah, it was a Nesquik Jeff Green Championship year throwback. Daniel Dye, of course, with the petty connections, runs a Prix scheme for Adam Petty. You got Southern Elevator Ryan Ellis, his car. Then you have Harry Gant throwback for Jeremy Clements. And I don't know, see what happened. I'm trying to see who else has paint schemes off hand, but those are just a few. I'm not sure who else does have them, but you have 40 for 38, so 2 cars will go home. Josh, you get first picks here on the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Darlington.
All right, first pick. Man, it's tough. I'm gonna go with Carson Kvapil to get his first win here in Darlington in the Xfinity Series. That's what I'll go with. My wild card here. Well, let's see. What's a good pick here? And there's Cup guys here too. Well, we'll stick with Carson. Let's just go with the kid, Parker Retzlaff.
Boy gets the pick for the wild card. Comes off. I mean, we've seen him now for a few years now, but this is, I think, his second or third full season coming out of the sim to actual driving. So you have, Josh mentioned it. You have Ross Chastain in the 9, William Clyde Elliott the 2nd in the 17, Christopher Bell in the 19. That's somewhat, I would say, formidable group. Chastain's run well there in the past. So is Elliott. I think he won his second career Xfinity race at Darlington. Was about 11 years ago. Told you how time flies. Man, 11 years. And then, yeah, I said Christopher Bell. And that's where I'm going to go. I'll go Chris Bell to get the win in the Xfinity series. Usually the Gibbs cars are really good there. Chris Bell to win. And then my wild card pick will be... this is tough. You picked Parker Retzlaff. I'll go with Harrison Burton. Hedging my bets there because he's had the Cup experience to go and see if they can have some luck and actually get something out of the day. NASCAR Cup Series will race the Goodyear 400. Rare that I would actually call it Goodyear. I'm usually calling it Bad Year. Got 38 for 40, so nobody's going home. Trying to see, the 9 is doing a Ken Schrader throwback. Ryan Blaney's throwing back to his dad, Dave Blaney's Xfinity win at Charlotte. I think Briscoe has some sort of throwback. I know Chris Bell has a Rick Ferkel throwback. Josh Berry with the Jim Clark one. Logano has a throwback one. Byron is doing Jeff Gordon's last race scheme. Alex Bowman throwing back to Jimmy with the black and white. Clyde is doing the... I think I said Clyde was doing the Ken Schrader one.
Yeah, he's doing Ken Schrader. And it didn't even look like it.
Yeah, it's just very, kind of mid that way. They don't have the paint schemes yet. Cody Ware, yet the latest example of doing a Caterpillar cat skid steer loader. Ward Burton, Tommy Baldwin. And then Kyle Larson's running a Frosted Flakes car in honor of Texas Terry Labonte. So that's what's up with... that's what I know offhand. I'll go first here for the Cup race, the Bad Year 400. And that is... so it's not those guys. I have to go and look at points out of curiosity. 35, 36. So top 18 there. Okay. Oh, that works out well. You went kind of wild. I'm not so sure if this is so wild or if it's me wishing for something, but I'm going to go and say Chase Briscoe gets his first win for Joe Gibbs and the 19 team in the throwback weekend race at Darlington. Wins, and because he fell back because of his bad finish and he's just outside the top half of points, I'm taking Josh Berry with the Jim Clark throwback for the wild card. It won't be long that he'll be back into the top half, and then he won't be able to be picked. So I'm taking the angle when I have it. Josh, you get the last word. All the Hendrick guys, most of the Gibbs team, et cetera, et cetera. Brad Keselowski won this race last year. It would be a huge win for him if he could repeat to make up for what has been a disastrous start to the year for him. But who do you see as your choice to win and wild card?
I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney to win here. He needs a win. And Blaney's coming here. That's the line from 2003. So, I think he can win this race. They definitely need to get back on track. I'm going to go, this is going to be an interesting one, but I'm going to go with Ty Dillon as a wild card here, running the Beaver Street Fisheries Company from Jacksonville, Florida with Seabest. So I'm going to go with the hometown feeling there and pick them. I might have to honestly get that diecast just for fun. So we'll see how he does. I mean, he's had a okay season. I mean, he's 25th in points, so it's definitely a wild card. But he had a decent finish at Martinsville last weekend. Phoenix, with the option tire, they had a good finish there. So this is a place that does chew up tires here at Darlington. So if they go on like a similar-ish tire, I guess here we might see Ty Dillon here maybe get like a top 15 finish or even score a top 10. So we'll see how that goes. But they've quietly put together so far a somewhat interesting season for a guy that we normally don't really think that highly of. But Calling is definitely putting in some effort this year.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that and the fact that you mentioned the sponsor. It's a throwback to Patty Moise. So it's not all that often that we see throwbacks to people of the like that, people that not everyone knows. It's hard back in the 80s if you were watching the Busch Series to not know who Patty Moise is or was. She's, of course, the spouse of Elton Sawyer, who's now a big-time NASCAR official. They raced together in the Busch Series for a few years. She ran different sponsors. She was really good on road courses, and she had shown good results, of course, on ovals here and there. But it was a different time when Patty Moise was racing in the sport. There were a few women that were out there in that time in the 80s. Robin McCall, who had ended up was married to Wally Dallenbach Jr. for a while. She's another one. There's a few ladies that were out there, but Patty Moise getting a shout out and a reference here with the Seabest sponsor, as Josh mentioned, running that paint scheme. So that'll be really cool to go, and maybe we'll see what they're able to do this weekend. It's time for Josh to tell us all things going on in iRacing and gaming in the sim segment. So take it away.
Yeah, of course. iRacing Season 2 underway now. This weekend, I ran my one Martinsville race that I said I was going to do. Ran that. Ran 10th, I think, or 11th or something like that. So, yeah, not too much happened, but we definitely spent a lot of it under caution. I mean, I was one of the cautions, the first one, but it's whatever. It's Martinsville fixed series. There's definitely going to be a lot of yellows action on there. So, did that. Did a lot of road racing at GT3s at Watkins Glen on the boot course there. Was hoping to run that this week, but definitely was able to do that this weekend. The course that we had was interesting with the weather. Sunset coming into Watkins Glen, that was definitely interesting and really nice view there with the updated graphics package. But yeah, driving wise, definitely was trying to learn the track a little bit. So I had a lot of interesting finishes there. I had a couple where I didn't finish, but definitely had some opportunities there with a couple of outside top 10 finishes there on that. So now eligible, if the season ends now, would be promoted to A class. So we'll continue to track that and hopefully get promoted in license class here in iRacing soon. So we'll see how that goes there. But this week on iRacing in official multiplayer, we got IndyCar On the oval side, Worldwide Technology Raceway here this week. Of course, NASCAR at Darlington, of course. Gen 4 series at Gen 4 NASCAR at Chicagoland this week. Gen Legends NASCAR Cup. Where's that? Legends NASCAR Cup, of course, at Legends NASCAR Cup at Texas this week. Interesting there. Got, let's see, the official series here. ARCA Menards series this week at USA International Raceway. So Lakeland, Florida, over there. Let's see what else. NASCAR course at Darlington this week, of course. And on the sports car side, we've got Toyota GR86 at Spa this week. You got, let's see where else. Got the Mazda Global MX-5 Cup, of course, at Lime Rock Park this week. Let's see where else. The GT3 Challenge here at Algarve this week. I got that there. The GT4 Challenge. Got that. The Sports Car GT4 Challenge this week at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve there. Let's see where else. Got the Production Car Challenge this week is at Charlotte Roval this week, so that'll be good there. Let's see what else. See where the IMSA is this week. The IMSA series, the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge this week. Yeah, no races this. Well, it's a schedule. There's a schedule this week. Algarve. So that's in 2 weeks though. So trying to look there. See what else. Oval this week. Formula car. Yeah, Formula cars. So Formula V's this week on the server at Summit Point. So that's a decent track there for that series. Got Formula 1600 the Formula Fords this week at Summit Point. So those two series both at Summit Point Raceway this week. You got let's see what else. IndyCar, the open wheel IndyCar series at Long Beach this week. So that should be good pick there if you can hop in that one. That's definitely a tough track on iRacing on the IndyCar. And then let's see the Formula. Okay, and I guess the Formula One series there at Suzuka. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity here on iRacing to compete in whatever class you'd like to. Of course, definitely focus on the sports car side right now. So probably try to hit up some of the lower level sports car classes to and the ones that I'm eligible for to get in that A license class there. I guess in terms of news this week, Raja Caruth has a Racing with Raja STEM Invitational Time Attack class or challenge right now. So through April 14th on the Charlotte Motor Speedway on iRacing, you have your chance to set your best lap time for a chance to run the live event streaming April 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The fastest 25 drivers will compete with Raja on iRacing at Charlotte and then at Atlanta. This is for students aged 13 through 15 and gives students a chance to learn more about STEM concepts through racing and learn about physics, vehicle mechanics, AI strategies or AI-driven race strategies, and giving them tools to learn with Microsoft Azure on there. So definitely we're obviously not in this, but if you're a young kid trying to get into racing, trying to learn more about it from the science, technology, engineering, and math side, then this is definitely your avenue there. So that definitely good work on Raja trying to get all the kids. That's when he got involved when he was that age. So trying to get all the young kids involved in this, and definitely good way to do it through get them interested through sim racing there. So that's definitely good on there to do that. So with that, as always, you can follow my Twitch stream at JP or at uSailor2, my Twitter page at JB Huffine. Go on there, which definitely this weekend will be filled with Florida basketball content there on there, and get whatever opinions on Darlington that come up throughout the weekend there. And then, of course, YouTube channel, Group Share Podcast, and go on there and follow all our shows and listen to that on there or watch them on there. So, yeah, definitely subscribe to that, and definitely leave a comment or like on our page there. So, yeah, definitely an interesting weekend here at Martinsville this past weekend. Definitely a lot of opinions on there, and hopefully we can improve from that as an industry, and hopefully we see better racing standards here in any series in NASCAR, not just the Xfinity Cup or Truck Series, but all of them. So, yeah, definitely hoping for good action, good racing here this weekend at Darlington. Definitely hope we see some good throwbacks on track, what they look like, not just on the renderings, but what they look like on track. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah,